Have you heard the news? There is major changes coming in the way real estate agents are paid. Think it might save you some money? Well, stick around and find out next. Hey RT family, Ryan Reynolds here with Keller Williams Consultants Realty with an update with regard to the settlement that happened on what's called the Sitzer-Burnett case out of Missouri, and what the national headlines are saying is going to save home sellers trillions of dollars. And I want to get into some of the facts and explain to you what the basis of the lawsuit and what the basis of the settlement look like. And I just want to disclaim this and say that the lawsuit is, I should say the settlement has not been finalized. The judge has not approved it yet, but this is a proposed settlement that's to go in effect in the middle of July of 2024. So let's first talk about what the Sitzer-Burnett case alleged. And to see what they allege, you really kind of have to understand a little bit about how real estate commissions are working now. And so the way real estate commissions work currently is that a seller will find a listing agent, hire that listing agent. They'll negotiate a commission that the listing agent gets paid, and then that listing agent will offer compensation to a buyer's agent through the multiple listing service as a co-op fee, they sometimes call it. And usually they split the commission half each side, and the buyer's agent gets paid whatever that commission that's advertised in the multiple listing service. That commission can be anywhere from $1 I've seen all the way up to whatever they want to pay. And so it's not a fixed number, it moves. Some people have said in the past there's a standard commission, but there's no such thing. If you look in the multiple listing service today, I can tell you that there are lots of different types of compensation. Anyway, that said, the big problem with that, according to the buyers that were in this lawsuit, was that the buyers never had the opportunity to negotiate the commission that their buyer agent got paid for representing them, because that was offered by the seller. Now, we can talk about whether that's actually true or not, but either way, that's part of the deal, and there has been a settlement agreed. So now I want to talk a little bit about probably just the two big changes that you're going to see as a consumer with regard to what the outcome of this settlement is. The first change you're going to see is that in order to see a house, part of the settlement, it says that if a house is offered on the multiple listing service and a member of the multiple listing service shows that house, they must have a buyer's agency agreement in place with that buyer before they show them the house. So in the past, you could probably call an agent. They would be willing to show you a couple of houses. Some agents had buyer's agency agreements signed from the beginning and met with you, which is actually probably a much more professional way to do things. And some agents just showed you whatever houses you wanted to see, and you never had to pay them anything or do any, even agree to work with them. That's probably going to change, and so in the future here, you're probably going to have to hire a buyer's agent to represent you, and including paying them, which is kind of the other outcome of this settlement. But I'll tell you here at the end, I'll tell you how I think it probably will work. So with the buyer's agency agreement, you're going to need to hire this agent before you see a house, and then you're going to have to agree as part of that to pay them some sort of commission. That can be whatever you guys agree. It could be $1, could be 6%, could be 3%, could be whatever. And that's just between you and that buyer's agent. Now, the way that it currently worked, like I mentioned, is the seller paid the listing agent paid the buyer's agent, and then the buyer never had to pay. So even though they didn't get a chance to negotiate, they really didn't have to pay it out of pocket, at least, even though all the funds for that transaction were coming from the buyer. So you can see kind of how it was confusing. So now that you have to have this buyer's agency agreement, you'll know how much you're paying your buyer's agent before you go to look at a house. And so technically it is going to be saving home sellers lots of money, because they're effectively going to be paying half of the commission they were paying before, or maybe less, depending on what is negotiated, or maybe more actually. Now, as I think about how this actually is going to work, what I'm hearing is that the buyer is now going to have to pay a buyer's agent, along with paying their down payment, along with paying mortgage closing costs, along with all the other costs they have. And how are buyer's agents going to have to be able to actually afford to hire a buyer's agent? And I think part of the premise is they think that will bring those buyer's agent commissions down, and it very well might do that, or it might not. It probably is going to depend more on the skill of the buyer's agent you're hiring. Kind of like when you hire an attorney. If you hire an attorney that's really high skilled, they probably charge a lot more than somebody who maybe isn't as skilled. So anyway, all that aside. So how this could work in the future is that while the lawsuit prohibits offering compensation to agents through the multiple listing service, it specifically says that sellers can offer concessions to the buyer through the multiple listing service. Now, concession basically being a credit or any kind of compensation to the buyer. So what could happen is that the seller will negotiate with the listing agent a listing commission, and they'll also maybe negotiate a listing concession, something they're planning on paying the buyer's agent, to the buyer, so that the buyer can effectively pay their buyer's agent and everything will continue. So whether or not that puts downward pressure on commissions to save the public trillions of dollars, I probably don't see that happen, because the cost of being a real estate agent, frankly, are pretty high. You have a lot of expenses and a lot of work to do, and I don't see a lot of people doing that unless they're getting paid a reasonable amount of money. So that's how I understand what's going on now. And again, like I mentioned, the lawsuit is not settled permanently. The judge has to approve that first. The timeline of July has not been approved, and I don't know if an action can happen and change an entire industry that quickly, but that's what they're saying. So wanted to just keep you in the know. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. My name is Ryan Reynolds, again, with the Ryan Reynolds team. As always, unlimited opportunities and exceptional experiences.